his first time running for political office, but Roy Maybank wants to head to Columbia to tackle issues from education to infrastructure for you. In this special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I speak exclusively with him one-on-one. Roy, it's so good to see you.
Good morning. Thank you so much for coming.
I appreciate this. I know that you were not feeling well last week, but so tell me, how are you right now?
I'm well. I'm 100% ready to go.
That is awesome. Speaking of which, you released the following press release on February 26th.
Okay.
You said the following quote: Charleston resident and small business owner Roy Maybank today announced his bid as a Republican candidate for State Senate District 41, currently held by Senator Paul Thurmond, who's not seeking re-election. And I'm wondering, Roy, why you, why now?
You know, that's a good question, and people ask me that all the time. And I think everybody gets asked that because, unfortunately, I think there is a perception in the public that if you're going to go and work within the public community, you're doing it for some kind of self-interest. And what I looked at one day was a letter from my grandfather. It was dated 1984. And it was on the 40th anniversary of his D-Day invasion of Europe. And he had written it to his three daughters. And he headlined that letter, North Africa, Sicily, Italy, D-Day, because he had done all those foreign invasions during World War II. And the last question that he proposed to each one of the girls was, will you work to make the state better for future generations? Mm-hmm. He didn't say what you had to do. Right. He just said, that is what you should do. And it was a question, not a command, but at the same time it was one and the same. And I read that letter many years ago, and I think that in itself affected me. I went to the Citadel, and there were some good men who have gone into the military. We've lost some graduates. They have paid the ultimate sacrifice. And for me to want to run this for the Senate and to put myself out there, so to speak, and my family, I think it's a small price for me to pay to try to make South Carolina a better place for its residents.
And later in that press release, you said the following quote: so many people tell me that they become frustrated with the politics in Columbia and the fact that nothing seems to be getting done and the status quo is not acceptable. So I'm curious, what's in your mind acceptable, Roy?
Well, let's go back to nothing getting done. Oh, yeah. 526 has been in some kind of form or fashion for over 30 years. The concept, the getting it built. Right. We have not completed that. And that is beyond reproach. The Charleston area has grown tremendously. The need for infrastructure is grown tremendously. And for the legislators in Columbia not to identify the Charleston area as being one of the most important economic driving engines of this state, in addition to Greenville, Spartanburg, the Myrtle Beach area. I understand that there are many facets to it, but this is one of the significant engineered cogs for the economy. And to not have a proper infrastructure, I think it speaks poorly of those decision makers in Columbia. I think it should be a priority. I think 526 should be completed. Unfortunately, I have a feeling that it's probably not going to be. And when in the future can we get it done? You know, you look at it, and you look at the number of people who have moved into district, into James Island, West Ashley, Kiowa, Seabrook, Folly, and there are two main roads that funnel. It's Maybank Highway and it's Main Road. Yeah. And I remember back in 2001 when Hurricane Floyd came, the word to get out of the town was put out. Nobody could get out because the traffic was so bad. Yeah. And since 2001 until 2016, I think you and I both know traffic and the population has grown tremendously. Yes. I don't see how we're going to be able, from a human impact standpoint, to get people out of these affected areas if we have a significant hurricane. Yeah. We can't even get people through on a daily traffic routine.
That is true. Describe to me the following one word: I-26.
Congested.
Schools.
Underperforming.
The economy.
Performing well in certain areas.
Finish these sentences for me, that is. Working in the tomato packing sheds on John's Island taught you what?
The value of working at a young age, because I was 15 years old when I started out there. I had just gotten my driver's license, and so I could basically work and drive from sun up to sundown.
Right.
And I worked for Mr. Walpole out there at Sunny Slope Farms, and the daily grind, working in the top of that tomato packing shed, there was no stopping. The fruits, I mean, the vegetables were coming out of the field. They didn't stop. The workers didn't stop, and the machinery didn't stop. You had a certain period in which to get work done. Right. And that's, in essence, kind of a young training ground for the legislature. The legislature is only in session for a certain period of time. They need to get more done in that limited time they have. Very similar to where, when I worked out in the tomato packing shed, we had a window to get the crops out of the field, boxed up, and out to suppliers.
Yeah. Fishing and hunting are.
Yo, you want me to finish that? I'm sorry. Fun. Yes. Absolutely fun. Yes, and family fun.
Yeah.
I take my family with me when we go hunting, when we go fishing.
Sure.
It's time to be with the kids. Lets them enjoy the natural resources of our state, which are limited. There is no finite amount of resources, and we have to be cognizant of that as well as a state. That when we look at and working in conjunction with the Department of Natural Resources to set good game management guidelines so that not just myself, but future generations of all South Carolinians can go and enjoy it. And I would encourage everybody to go get a lifetime hunting and fishing license. That's what I did, and I got one for my children when they were young. It's a wonderful thing to have.
That is awesome. The Citadel taught you
not to give up.
Yeah.
Never give up. There are times when we were at the Citadel. You're out there on you're 18 years old. You're on a parade deck at 5:30 in the morning carrying a rifle. And it's 92 degrees in August. Back then we didn't have air conditioning in the barracks. And they reminded you, they being the cadre and the officers, reminded you that there was always a better place to be. And why don't you go be there with your friends? And you had to remind yourself that you made a commitment. You made the commitment to be there, and you were going to finish it. And that's what it really taught me, that when things get tough, you just dig inside yourself and keep going further.
District 41 is
big. Most people don't realize how big District 41 is. It goes all the way from Fort Johnson Road on James Island, all the way to Dorchester Road, covering North Charleston, Dorchester County, and Charleston County. And very diverse, too. You have some manufacturing up there in the Dorchester area, but you've got a lot of rural parts. All the way up to Red Top, up on 17, goes out to Bacon's Bridge Road. And it stretches a very long, big geographical area that a lot of people just don't realize.
Wow. Maybank Law Firm is?
It is a defense firm that does a lot of insurance defense work. Basically, a lot of people say, well, what does that mean? We do a lot of work for the state. So when the county or the city says somebody gets hurt, they call us and ask us to defend the city or the county, and that's what we do. I've defended the Department of Social Services, Charleston County EMS, the police department. I've done work in federal courts and state courts. We do work for private companies as well. It's small, it's maneuverable, and I think we do a wonderful job for our clients.
The Hood Law Firm was?
One of the best learning training grounds that anybody could ever ask to learn the practice of law. My first boss was a gentleman by the name of Bobby Hood, who I owe so much to, and he really was instrumental in teaching me how to practice law, and giving me that opportunity to come in there right out of law school and begin my work there.
And you and I have something in common because my aunt Annette Gibbs worked there as well.
She did. She was a great lady, just a wonderful lady. I knew her for many years. And the Hoods really liked her a lot. I mean, just a wonderful, wonderful lady.
Yes, indeed.
You're very fortunate. You've got good family in these parts, as they say.
Yeah, thank you, Roy. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Speaking of which, Amanda and the kids are?
They are busy.
Yes.
Amanda is probably the busiest person I know. She practices law.
Okay.
She runs this house. She takes care of the children. and she makes sure that the kids are fed well and out the door each day, and she picks them up, and they have so many activities. My children are involved in the City of Charleston Rec Department. We've been very fortunate enough as a family to sponsor many of the soccer teams our children have played on, tennis, football, you name it, the kids do it, and we are there. We try to be there as much as we can with them. But yeah.
Roy Maybank is
Devoted.
Yes.
Devoted to this family, devoted to this state, devoted to this country. This state has given my family so much. We've been here for hundreds of years in this city. And we have been able to prosper, I think, by being good stewards of the of what we have been inherited and what we have been given as a state. And I think that when you have the recognition that with great things, great responsibility is expected. And so being able to go up to the State House, I understand is a great responsibility and nothing that I take lightly. I think it's a heavy responsibility when as a senator you are deciding things such as education, infrastructure, job growth, health and human services, just so many different components. And you cannot lose the fact that you are going to be touching the lives of Charlestonians, Columbians, people from Greenville, Hampton, Marlboro, all over the state. And if you lose sight of that because you have, I don't want to say, giving yourself over to what I call special interest, but if you do that, then you're going to lose sight of why you're up there, I think. I'm not, I certainly would hope that the voters of the Charleston area, James Island, West Ashley, Johns Island, if they ever thought that they saw me or my mission wavering at all, that they will call me back and say, this is, what are you doing, Maybank? And it's something that we would address and make sure that everybody knows they have a voice in the government.
Yes.
And I would be their voice out there in Columbia.
That is really awesome, Roy. Well, Roy Maybank, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I really appreciate this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, you have a nice day.
You too.